were in Vegas and you were noticing different, uh, all these different marketing I think Vegas is like, it's at least on the strip, it's a gold mine of people trying to get your attention.
That's it exactly. And one of the most, well, I'm not sure this is a story fit for kids, but again, at the time, this was like 2010, there were all these little old ladies, mostly foreigners who probably spoke no English, who were wearing fluorescent colored t-shirts, mostly yellow, some of them orange. Mm-hmm. And they were handing out cards, basically, call an escort or visit this porn site or whatever. But a couple of them had this, I don't know how to describe it. They would hold the deck of cards in their hand. Mm-hmm. So they would, they have these cards, and they would push one out, and I don't have the nails for it, but they would take the edge of their thumbnail mm-hmm. and flick the card, and the way they held the card amplified the sound. So it was almost, they could point the deck at you and you would hear it extremely loudly because the sound was coming out of it, was shooting out of their hand. That's something that I saw that I really liked. But more importantly, there was this guy. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning. My wife and I were walking along the strip, and this guy comes up and he's like giving us a pitch, hey, how would you like to win a trip to New York City? Mm-hmm. And my wife says, in her thick accent, not really not that thick, but it was for Vegas. She goes, I don't need a trip to New York City. We go there like 3 or 4 times a year because that's where I'm from. And I believe my wife is beautiful, but she's no different looking than, thousands of other women. And so this guy is like, oh, enjoyed your next trip to New York City or whatever. And we walk on. Well, we're coming back through about 4:30 in the afternoon. So it's at least 6 hours later. And we're walking past, and the same guy is still doing his pitch. And it was probably timeshare or something. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, how would you like to? Oh, hey, it's the lady from New York City. He remembered her. He remembered her name. Mm-hmm. Now, hey, it's only 6 hours, but the thousands and thousands of people that he had interacted with mm-hmm. who were passing by him in those 6 hours, I thought made that amazing. So it's whatever, it's a skill and you can learn it, but mm-hmm. the memorization of remembering people's names, remembering people's faces, remembering their identification, their data. Wow, it was amazing.
It makes you memorable as a marketer because it's so easy for you to not get that personalized feel, or it would have been easy for that person to try to give you a pitch. But how annoying is that? How annoying is it when you walk by someone and then they pitch you as if they haven't seen you before?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But regardless of the pitch, mm-hmm. it was his ability to memorize details and recall that data even after, again, for you and me, 6 hours sitting at a computer or, building a house, whatever. But when it's your job to actually interact with thousands of people every hour, and for this guy to remember 6 hours later, someone their features, their name, the details of their 30-second conversation. I thought that was really amazing, and I am nowhere nearly as good as he is, but I've definitely tried to up my memorization game.
I keep what I call my I keep my Rolodex. and old school, I used to keep what a friend of mine called it, a dossier.
Mm-hmm.
And I would keep it, and I would keep this Rolodex when I talk to people, and I just note important things like number of children, children's names, because when you're out there prospecting and you're talking to a lot of clients, just reviewing that information before you get on a call with them was just priceless. It's priceless.
You know what? We're talking about memorization here, and I should have memorized the guy's name, but I didn't. But there was a general back in World War II who became very popular with the troops because he would be reviewing the troops. He would stop and just, in front of a random soldier, and he's like, what's your name, son? Well, my name is, Sergeant Smith or Private Smith or whatever. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from, Hayes, Iowa. Oh, do you know the such and such family? Why, yes, sir, I do. Well, if you go down this street, that's where the such and such family. Wow, yes, sir. Wow, that's right. And he would move on to somebody else and do the same thing. But he had an aide who would look up all this information. And there was, the aide would say, okay, stop with this guy. His name's, Private Smith from Hayes, Kansas. And, he would go through this thing like, whoa, where you from? Oh, yeah, I know these people there. I know your family or whatever. And he would make these people feel like the important part of it is that person that you're interacting with feels noticed.
Oh yeah.
And not to get into a big, long, detailed whatever, but every time I get like a connection request, usually on LinkedIn, it's, people ignore that. They're like, hi, I want to build my network. Will you join my network? And, so I can call on you. But I've had a couple of people who were like, oh, so you are, and a lot of them hit me with, oh, you run a digital marketing agency, which I do not. There's a big difference between, some of what I do is done by digital agencies, but a lot of what I do is not. But anyway, I had this one woman contact me about a week ago, who was like, oh, I did all sorts of research on your business, you and your business. And then she stated like 3 facts that were totally wrong.
Totally wrong. I was waiting for you to say that she hit the nail on the head, but it was totally wrong. Okay.
I would, yeah. She wrote, I did all this research on you and your business, and I'm like, oh, really? This is really cool. And then she mentions like 3 things that have nothing to do with me at all. And I was so hoping that, that she was the one who actually took that step. But you know what? I know you're recording this part, but if you want to just take like this few seconds and drop this in wherever. If you want to connect with somebody, and here's like the biggest hint I can give anybody who wants to do this. If you want to connect with somebody, if you want to connect with me, first of all, read if it's LinkedIn, read my profile.
Yeah, at least,
and mention one thing. Doesn't have to be a million things. but mention one thing that is mentioned in my profile and ask me a question about one thing that's in my profile. Because a lot of what I get is, hi, let's connect. I want to sell you this thing. Or worse, let's collaborate on this project. And I'm like, what do you mean by collaborate? The few times I've interacted with people and done this, what do you mean by collaborate? Well, I want to sell you my stuff. Well, that's not collaboration. You're calling a sale a collaboration. That's, how is this a collaboration? Well, your money is collaborating with my account. So, I don't know, but it only takes 10 seconds additional to look at, to skim somebody's profile and then, mention a fact and ask a question based on that. And I will tell you this, I would be much more inclined to connect with people who do that. And so if you're prospecting, if you're literally just prospecting, knocking on doors looking for new clients, just do that. Or if you're looking for a new job with a company, just do that. Yeah. Find out what it is that they do, who's in charge of where you're going to be, wanting to work, or who's in charge of the buying process. Look them up on social media. If it says they have kids or grandkids, mention that. And it really doesn't hurt. There's nothing wrong with being transparent and saying, hey, I looked you up on Instagram and I read your profile and it says you are interested in, surfing or golf or, little baby bunnies. It doesn't even matter, or you have 3 grandkids, can you tell me about their names? Or how old are they? Find out a fact and then ask them. And if people are flattered by that, they're much more willing to interact with you if you take the time to get to know them a little bit and show that you know them. As the ancient saying goes, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
And I've always known that, because you talked about how someone started a conversation with you, and I heard one word throughout that conversation, and that was my, me, my. And you are not going to attract the attention of someone else talking about yourself, just wanting to collaborate, saying my, me, my. And the other person's favorite subject to talk about, those secret motivators, those things that motivate people, is always themselves.
As this, again, another ancient bit of wisdom, the most beautiful sound in any language is your name.
Yeah.
Just, and again, if you've got somebody watching this, just think about this. If I came up to you and I was like, so Mark, or whoever I'm talking to, so I've used your name once. Let me tell you about me. I do this and I do that, and I have this, this is, wonderful, blah, 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 blah. So Mark, so now I've used your name twice. How would you like to buy my stuff? How inclined are you to do that? I would guess the chances are 0% that we're going to be doing business. But if I came up and I said, hey Mark, so I've used your name once, tell me, what is it that you do? What's what do you, and you could give me your 30-second elevator pitch. But my next step would be, that's Mark's business. Tell me about Mark. Tell me what really is important to you. What do you do when you're not marketing? Tell me what you do when you're not, hustle. What's important to Mark? So right then and there, I've used your name like 5 or 6 times. But more importantly, I've asked about you. So now when you finally get done with telling me about you, your instinct is probably going to be like, so what do you do? So now that's an invitation for me to first of all, most importantly, like I just said, it's an invitation. So you're at least hypothetically willing to listen about what I have to say, even if you're just going to pretend. But more importantly, it's an invitation for me to talk and engage you maybe in a situation where, so maybe there is something we can do. Let's, what should we have a coffee and discuss it, or a phone call and discuss it?
Yes.
There's that kind of mutual invitation.
Yes.
But even more importantly, let's say I find out you like dogs or something. I'm using it as an example because, again, for anybody who's watching this, my favorite charity is actually a cat rescue organization that I donate my time and my efforts to locally. So you tell me your favorite animal is dogs, and you tell me about how you got dogs and you love dogs, and I'm like, hey Mark, how about doing some work for my cat organization? That's
it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because it's interesting how many conversations that I've seen that actually go that way. And you think that someone would know enough not to actually do that. But then I tell myself, it's easy to forget the level of skill that I've learned over the years, and to take it for granted, because I know not to do that. But I've also studied it, because I went on a journey to really be able to have conversations with people and learn those secret motivators. But everyone hasn't. But I want to. I want to, because we started talking about the Las Vegas trip.
Yeah.
And this just seems like a perfect title. It's like marketing lessons learned from the Las Vegas trip.
I would suggest to anybody who's involved in marketing peripherally, whether you're a copywriter, whether you walk door to door selling vacuum cleaners or Bibles or whatever it is, spend at least one day slowly walking up and down the strip in Las Vegas, and let people pitch to you, and you will learn so much. And you not only will you learn good technique, you'll see some bad technique. So you'll learn very quickly what works, what doesn't. And there's so many people there. It's a great experimental place. They try so many different things there.
You mentioned earlier about you were seeing the same. You said that you were seeing the same things that from 30 years ago, and that's when you were talking about your wife. Let me ask you, what did you see on your trip to the Las Vegas Strip that said to you, wow, this is new and exciting, and this is something that I would take back and actually implement into my own marketing?
Well, again, the thing that made the biggest impact on me And again, you got to remember this trip was almost 12 years ago. So, that's real time. So internet time, that's, back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that made the biggest impact on me was the gentleman who had the memory of an elephant. I mean, he remembered my wife out of thousands and thousands of people that he interacted with that day. He remembered my wife 6.5 hours later. And it really reinforced on me that not necessarily memorization, but certainly interacting with people with the details that you already have and details that you might be able to acquire elsewhere. And again, let's say I'm calling on you to sell you widgets. I walk in the first day, I don't know who the heck you are, you don't know me. I wind up asking you some questions. I find out you have 2 sons and a daughter, and your wife is a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing for me isn't necessarily to remember that, but it's as soon as I leave the meeting, is to write those things down.
Mm.
And before I come in and see you the next time, review those facts that I've written down about our previous conversation, especially the personal facts, and be ready to drop them into a conversation the next time I see you. If it's not appropriate to say, how are your kids doing, or how's your wife doing, or whatever, then I won't do that. But at least be ready to drop those in, or you might say, again, I'm just making this stuff up off the top of my head. Let's say
you are a master at that.
Yeah, it's flat. What can I say? There's a lot of stuff on top of my head. No, again, let's just imagine that you mentioned Mark Jr. I'm making this stuff up also. So, the next time I'm in, I might say something like, how old is Mark Jr. again? What's is he still playing football or soccer or whatever? If you told me last time.
Yeah.
Is he still playing sports? If you can't remember what it was, whatever. Just it's the connection that you make. That's what's important. Mm-hmm. As far as other things that I saw in Vegas, that was the first time I saw a billboard truck. It was a huge truck. The only thing it had on it was a billboard.
Oh, okay, it's like a flat truck, and it just goes up and down. I've seen those in cities that have major events.
Yes.
Like Super Bowls, championship games, where they're in their downtown area where there's going to be a large concentration of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was that. There were, I mentioned at the time, again, this was like 12 years ago, something that was brand new at the time was people who strapped essentially what we would consider TVs, but giant LCD panels to poles on their backpack, and put giant belts of batteries around their waist, and would walk up and down the strip. That was the digital version, and of course there would be a movie playing, and it had speakers, so there was sound with it. But really, if you think about it, that's exactly the same thing as the sandwich board signs from the 1920s, from 100 years ago. You eat at Joe's, or buy an apple, 5 cents.
Oh yeah. Yeah, keep that thought, because that's what I wanted to ask you about. And I just wanted to just point out just a new type of advertisement that I saw recently. And I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. But I was in an Uber. And the Uber, you know how Ubers are not cabs. Okay, so
Right.
typically cabs were a major place for advertising. They would put them on signs on top of the cars, signs on back of the car, and then I think they even began when you got inside the cab, they would have these little maybe TV screens.
Yep.
I saw a portable one inside of an Uber that was offering free games. So it was a little thing that flipped right over the front seat, and it said, "Here, you get to play this game for free." When you play the game for free, you're served advertisements. And I thought that would probably be a good source. I don't know, maybe it's a source of revenue for the driver, or maybe it's a good source of leads, because I saw grocery store commercials, and it's like grocery stores were advertising there, and I thought, wow, it's just, you know, you talk about the 1920s, and you talk about how advertising and marketing has kind of changed, but it's still the same. What do you think?
The technologies change all the time. You know, I know I'm going to sound ridiculous, but you know, the wheel is a wonderful thing if all you've ever done is walk. A cart is a wonderful thing if all you've ever done is ride on a wheel. You know, a car is wonderful if all you've ever had is a cart. But the technology is the thing that's changing. The getting from here to there part of it is not, it's the same. It's just how you do it. Putting a message in front of somebody,
okay, mm-hmm,
is based on technology. I've seen so many people over the last 20 years at least who have like, oh, this is brand new, and you know, nobody does anything like this. Yeah, they do. It's just a new technology. I read thousands of books every year. Most of them all the way through. Some of them I only get a few pages in. But I have a digital e-reader. But I also have a house full of books. So I haven't given up on my quest for knowledge. I still read, you know, that ancient technology, you know, ink on dead trees. But I also have, again, a digital reader where, you know, I can lay in bed and just, you know, move my finger and flip from page to page. The idea is the same. I'm getting information from somebody that I don't know, who is hundreds to thousands of miles away from me and may have been deceased for who knows how long. But I'm still getting that information.
Are you absorbing marketing books?
Oh, among other things, yeah.
Okay.
I read marketing. I read general business. I read. I also read some fiction. I actually started out as an author. My first love was horror. I love scaring people.
Right. So let me ask you.
Yeah.
Do you think the newer marketing books, do you think there's anything new inside of them?
Is there anything new inside of them? Technologically, yes. Here's the thing, and I may have mentioned it before. I study traditional Okinawan Goju-ryu karate. I met my teacher's teacher when I first started. This guy was about to turn 80. And he was doing the same techniques that I had just been taught how to do. And it, I was like, shouldn't he, he's been doing this for like 70 years. Shouldn't he be a little more advanced than I am? But it's not the technique that, how can I say this? It's the fact that he has been practicing the basics, the basic techniques, and refining them for 60 years. That's why his karate is so much better, was so much better, he's passed away now, was so much better than mine. Because while we're doing the same things, he has had, he had 60 years to refine them and make them smaller and tighter and much more effective. So again, if it's your first day in sales, and your boss tells you just go out there and knock on doors, and that's great. That's the first step is again, whether it's knocking on doors, sending an email, sending a letter, placing an advertisement, the step is not knocking on a door. It's not sending an email. The step is connecting with people. That's the basic premise. That's the basic concept of that step. Mm-hmm. You need to make an introduction between yourself and another person. Then what's very important for funnels and every other type of interaction is a headline. Well, when you're talking to somebody, it's not a headline. Yeah, shut up. Listen. It's sorry.
That was a headline right there.
That's the point. You need to say something that catches their attention, that is out of the ordinary, that builds their interest. If I came to you and what we were talking about a little earlier, if I came to you and knocked on the door and I said, "Hi, my name is Scott. I am putting myself through college, selling magazines door to door. I am blah, blah, blah." Okay, I'm talking all about me. How interested are you? How much of your attention do I have? I can guarantee you you're not interested at all, and I have 0% of your interest. But if I said something like, "Hi, I just saw your house, and I wanted to ask you, do you get ladies' magazines here at the house? How's your love life, sir?"
Nice house, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Say something.
Nice house, by the way. Is this the most expensive house on the block?
Or, anything. You could say, as long as you've got some way to use this line, I had to knock on your door and tell you how much I hate your house. What? Yeah, I hate it because it's so beautiful. I'm jealous.
That sounds like an old pickup line.
It does, yeah. What can I say?
What is that one? Is your mother an angel? Because you just dropped out of heaven.
Yeah, I watch a show out of Great Britain, and this guy, they do comedy lines throughout this whole thing, and one of the guys, it was a failed pickup lines, and he's like, "Hi, is your father a thief?" because and then the expected line is, you've stolen my heart or whatever. And because if he is, I'm going to find him and arrest him and take him to jail.
Oh yeah.
And, it was like, what? It was really kind of funny. But the point of it is, it's an opening line, whether it's verbal or whether it's written, whether you've got it on a fancy website page or whether it's the heading of an advertisement or the subject of an email. Those are all different technologies. Those are all different things. An advertisement is an email. It's not you're missing the point. You have certain basics that you need to refine. And you asked me, are there new things in books? Here's the thing that I realized after I'd been studying traditional martial arts for a couple of years, is that the basics, going back to the basics of whatever it is that you're doing, is what makes you really good. It also is what allows you to do those spectacular techniques that amaze other people down the road. It's, if a beginning martial arts student hits you as hard as he can, you might be a little bruised or whatever. If he's lucky, you're going to be a little bruised. Somebody who's been training for about 4 years should knock you back a little bit. Somebody who's been training for 10 years should be able to break a bone with that one strike. Here's the point. Somebody who's been training for 20 years shouldn't have to punch you at all.
Oh, really?
Should be able to convince you to be on his side without throwing a punch at all. And that's the difference. I know that may not make a lot of sense, but let's put it this way. Your first day as a marketer, bam, 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 bam. Hi, I'm selling magazines door to door. You're yelling, you're screaming about what you're doing. You're all enthusiastic, which is great. Enthusiasm is wonderful, but you're doing everything wrong. But if I'm going to be selling magazines in 20 years, I'm probably, if I'm smart, or if I've been smart along the way, I'm no longer selling magazine subscriptions.
Oh no!
I'm going to be going, you've got an audience, Mark, that is waiting to hear from you. What I do is I work with entrepreneurs to put together magazines. So I tell you what, for only $250,000, I can set you up with a complete turnkey magazine business. Mark's business magazine, and you'll have thousands of subscribers and blah 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 blah. So I'm no longer selling magazines door to door.
Yeah. What you learn to do is you learn to get more output from less input. I'll tell you a story. I don't think I've told you this story before, but I have a good friend that's in his 40s, and he's played soccer his entire life. One afternoon, we went to 3 soccer games. We went to a high school game. We went to a high school soccer game. We went to a college soccer game. And then we went to his over 40 soccer game. The high school soccer game, they were constantly falling on the ground, getting up. It seemed like every minute they were getting down, they were getting up, they were bumping each other, scraping their knees. And I thought, wow, that grass is pretty hard. But they were constantly on the ground. Then we went to the college game. The college game, they weren't on the ground as much. They had more controlled movements. They did throw themselves around, but they weren't throwing themselves after the ball like the high school kids were. But the college, they were a little more controlled. Then I went to the over 40 game. I don't think they touched the ground at all. They didn't touch the ground at all. They weren't throwing themselves around. They had very much more controlled movements, and they stood straight up. And I thought, wow, you learn as you go along that maybe all that energy that you were expending wasn't really worth it. And you learn ways to leverage. You leverage things that will give you a greater output without spending as much effort. And as a matter of fact, that the over 40 game was the highest scoring game actually too.
Sure.
It was the highest scoring game. And I learned that. I said, wow, you leverage and you learn about expending so much effort. And that's what experience does for you. You talk about the first person that's banging on the door. Hey, I'm so happy. And then you want to keep that up for 30 years. You're going to learn how to communicate. You're going to learn how to communicate excitement without, you're going to be able to communicate messages that move the masses. And because you can do much more work, you can move so much more with just the words that come out of your mouth than you could ever move with your physical muscles.
It's about leverage.
Yes.
And see, yes. that's the point. It's, you're talking about the soccer game, soccer games. Here's a question for you. Mm-hmm. It's a loaded question. Were the kicks any different from the high school game to the college game to the adult game? They may have been performed differently, but they were the same kicks. Was the goal scoring different? No. The object was to put a ball into a net on the other side of the pitch. The fundamentals of each game were exactly the same. Nothing changed.
Yes.
It's the way that the game, the techniques were practiced. And that is what really, like I said, really made the biggest impression on me. I took it from martial arts, but then I realized, marketing or anything that you're doing, whether it's carpentry or marketing or, cutting people open for a living, it requires the same thing. You have to do the basics over and over and over again, internalize them and become good at them so that you can practice those, so that you can put those back out into the world automatically. So I don't have to think about hitting the ball, kicking the ball, where it's going to go. I'm doing that in high school. So, I got to hit with this part of my foot, and it's going to send it off on this angle. If I do it enough, if I practice enough, if I refine it enough, that's going to be automatic. I don't have to worry about that. I can now bring my attention up and look at where everybody is, my teammates, the opposing teammates, that sort of thing. I can even, now I can start thinking about making some kind of ricochet shot if I have to, But the point of it is, it's often talked about with the 10,000 hour limit or
10,000 hour rule.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always 10,000 hours, but it's good benchmark. But the point of it is, it's the basics of any particular situation, any larger skill set that you're working on. If you train on the basics, if you internalize the basics and are able to put them back out into the world at a much higher, how do I want to say this? Well, let me fall back on a knife. Okay.
All right.
You've got a dull knife. A dull knife will still cut.
Right.
But it takes a lot more effort.
Mm-hmm.
But if you hone that knife, you can make difficult cuts easier. And now you can make cuts that you can't make with a dull knife because it's easier to use. And if you practice making a cut, any cut, with a dull knife, the function of that is going to be much different than if you practice making the cut with a sharp knife. So you need to refine those movements. You need to hone that edge of whatever it is, of whatever skill it is that you're doing to actually have an effect when you practice that skill, which is why I have some I'm a very disturbed individual. Let's put it that way. I had parents who always expected me to get scores of like 95 and above, and I often got them. The problem was I never practiced. At that point in my life, I didn't have to practice. It just, especially, academic stuff came very easily to me, and I never had to practice. That was a problem when I got out into the real world.
It's interesting.
I didn't know how to practice.
I think there's a difference between knowing what you learn in school is it's like, okay, so I'll take this for example, right? So someone will take a Facebook ads course and they'll pass the course and then they'll say, I know how to run Facebook ads.
Yep.
Which is absolutely false. Absolutely false.
And that's why I encourage, as I told you, I started out as a writer. A lot of what I do is still involves writing and crafting words, marketing and other things that I do. Here's the thing that I've learned. 90% of what I do is crap. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, like, if I have a client, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to write 70, 80 headlines for them. Well, not for them, for me. I'm going to do 70 or 80 headlines, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to throw out all the really bad ones. So when I finally give my client a choice of, between 3 headlines, they're the best three that I've been able to come up with. They don't see the other crappy stuff that I do. But here's the thing, I have to get those out of my system in order to come up with the three best headlines. Part of what I do is I take photos. Am I a professional photographer? I get asked that question a lot. And it all depends on your point of view. I take photos and I get paid for them, so that makes me a professional. That's one point of view. The other point of view is hell no. Because let's say you won an award, my professional photography would be standing you up against the wall, holding an award, you know, giving me a thumbs up, and I take a picture of that. And then I charge you $50 for that, you know, that photo and a press release and putting it in the paper. So do I get paid for that? Yes. Am I a professional photographer? No. But I still get people going, but you must be a professional photographer. Look at these prints that you have on your wall. They're gorgeous. And I say, yes, the prints that I have on my wall are gorgeous, because you're not seeing the other thousands and thousands of pictures that are terrible. You know, I'm not going to show you those. Why would I put that up on my wall? But it was a practice photo. I have a photo of a windsurfer down on my wall in my dining room. That was like maybe the fifth picture I took of the exact same windsurfer within a matter of 30 seconds. But I only have the one picture up there. Well, yeah, so the other ones are crap, at least in my way of looking at them. Some of them are completely out of focus. Some of them are a little bit out of focus. Some of them cut off the top of the kite that the guy was using. Some of them, you know, there were other small problems. But the photo that's hanging on my wall is pretty good. And I took it.
It has the least errors.
Exactly. See, that's the thing. If you talk to any marketer, or if you talk to a painter, or if you talk to anybody who's a master of their craft, and you look at one of their masterworks, you know what that person is going to tell you? He's going to tell you where everything is that's wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, he's going to tell you how difficult it was, how it was luck.
Exactly. You know, he'll go, oh, you see, this isn't the right color blue, you know, and the shape of this woman's face should have been more rounded, and you know, it's terrible, but I had to put it out. You know, the guy wanted it, whatever. You know, I needed a painting, and the guy put it out. When I was in high school, I had a friend of mine who went on to become literally a world-class illustrator. And he was doing a drawing in a dark theater. And I looked at the drawing, and it was a girl in a Spanish hat with little balls hanging off the edge of it. And I was like, wow, Eric, what are you going to do with that? He's like, I'm going to throw it away. You're kidding me. Why would you throw that away? He goes, it was just something, you know, I was just sitting here passing the time, so I drew this picture. And I said, well, don't throw it away. I'll take it. He's like, yeah, all right, whatever. So he comes back to me the next day and he goes, I can't let you have the picture. Well, why not? Well, my mother saw it and she made me put it in my portfolio. I'm like, oh, well, that's too bad. And that same afternoon, he comes up to me about, you know, we were in the theater, and it comes up to me about 15 minutes later. He goes, here. And he hands me a picture that's even better than the picture from the night before. I'm like, did you take this out of your portfolio? He goes, no, I just drew it for you. I'm like, just drew it? He goes, yeah, like the last 15 minutes. Here, just take it. I still have that picture. It's been 40 years. And the picture that he originally drew was one of the pictures that got him his first paying job. So he actually, on the strength of the picture that he was going to throw away, he got a job traveling around the world, he also did some marketing eventually, but he was a fashion illustrator for several years before he got his merchandising job.
Wow.
So,
it's funny.
So,
I think sometimes being the artist, we're more critical of our own work than others around us. And
but we should be. Otherwise, we don't get any better.
True. It pushes us forward. Let me ask you about sales funnels. For someone that thinks, I just put this sales funnel up once and it's not converting. What's wrong?
Oh, well. The world is coming to an end. You might as well kill yourself and, kill yourself. No.
That's what I said. I said, people are just crazy. I mean, I know how it is, but I'm just wanting to hear your input.
All right. If you put up a funnel and nothing happened, it could be any number of reasons. So here's what you do. You go back through the basics surrounding the funnel. And by that, I mean, do you have a source of traffic leading to your funnel? Are you attracting the attention of that traffic? Is the mechanism that's moving them to the funnel, is that functioning? Does it work? Have you tried it? There's so many things that could go wrong, so many things that could be wrong. Don't try to fix the funnel.
Oh yeah, I don't mean
Create a new one.
Yeah. If anything, I would say it's not the design. I think it's the communication. It's either the pre-communication, the pre-communication, or the communication, the messaging inside of the funnel.
Well,
because I think when someone says it's a broken funnel, or I'll just say a broken funnel, it's because it's not converting, it's not encouraging purchases.
Well, here's the thing. If nothing is happening, and by nothing I mean absolutely nothing, there's no way to diagnose what's wrong with the funnel, because right now there's nothing wrong with the funnel. There's nothing coming in.
Okay. So when you say nothing, what you're saying is that no one is coming to the funnel.
Well, let's put it this way: a lot of measurement is done. Let's see how many people are coming to page one, whatever that page is. Let's see how many people are taking our offer. Let's see how many people are winding up on page 2, or maybe the thank you page or whatever. So if you have 1,000 people showing up at your welcome page, and 500 people on your offer page, and 0 people on your thank you page, you can make some assumptions about what's wrong. But if you haven't measured the people on your welcome page or your offer page, and you're only looking at the people on your thank you page, and there's nobody who visited your thank you page, you still can't tell what's wrong. As a matter of fact, You don't know if there's anything wrong with your funnel. See, that's the thing. There's we're talking. I've made some statements that, ancient statements here. Another one is, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Right.
So if you don't have measurement metrics for page 1, page 2, page 3, each individual step, you can't figure out if there's a break on those pages. The other thing is, how can I say this? I used to build websites for people, and I would often get requests exactly like this. I need you to build me a website because I want to be a millionaire. Okay, there's a disconnect between those two statements. What are you going to do with your website? I don't know. People who have websites are millionaires. Okay, they sell things through their websites. Okay, all right, make me a website that sells something. Well, what are you going to sell? I don't know. I just want to be a millionaire. All right, let's start all over again. And you get a lot of people who do the same thing. I've heard about funnels. I read Russell Brunson's book, or I've heard of Mike Filsaime, or I've heard of this guy who does funnels, and I'm going to invest $5,000 in this software, and I built this funnel and nothing's happening. How come? Well, did you learn and practice the basics of how to get people interested in your funnel? Well, yeah, I sent out like 3 emails that said, "Hey, asshole, get in my funnel." Well, that's not going to work. You can be rude as long as you send out 10,000 emails, but sending out 3 emails is not going to work. That's why, and again, I'm not going to get into this conversation, but multi-level marketers who get involved with pyramid scams are told to go sell whatever it is to their relatives. But they find out that when they run out of relatives, they don't have anybody left to sell to. So how come I'm not a millionaire after selling a vacuum cleaner to my wife and her mother and whatever? Because you're not practicing the basics of capturing an audience, communicating with that audience, driving interest in that audience. All of that has to happen before you can introduce them to a funnel. That is your sales process. And I think that's where a lot of people fall down. They spend all their time and effort polishing the funnel, and they don't go back and perform even the minimal basics of driving people to that funnel, building interest for what it is that they're doing. Now, I've just noticed an amazing fact, Mark. You don't have any hair. So why would I bother to talk to you about going to my barber? I mean, yeah, your beard.
My hair does grow. It is a possibility. I could be maybe not shampoo, but
maybe not shampoo. There we go.
Maybe not shampoo.
But my point is, you would, just at first glance, certainly, you would be not the right person to come after for a barber, or, as you said, shampoo.
And unless you're me, I would, because I think I'd say I can get it closer for you there.
I don't know. It looks really good. Look, I'll be honest with you. This is a little personal, so I apologize for getting personal. But if my head looked like yours, I'd go bald too, man. I would shave it, but mine has got so many lumps and scars and everything else. I'm not taking my hair off for anybody.
Hey, believe me,
I'd scare people away.
You don't notice them, but of course I do.
The artist criticizing his own work. There we go.
Yes. Yes.
But my point is, I mean, if you don't address the correct audience, you can't develop interest. If you don't have the right audience or the right target, you could come up with a headline that works, a subject line that works, or would work if you were targeting the right audience.
Okay. Right. So whether that, so it was kind of really, because we were talking about just being an artist and how you might write 70 headlines, okay? And then you say, okay, here are the 3 best. And these are the 3 best that you have determined to be the best. But let's say you put those 3 headlines out there and they don't work.
Here's the thing. A lot of people, all right, again, I'm gonna be my usual self, which is a jerk. And what if you build a funnel and nothing works? Okay, like I said, there's a million different factors that could be wrong before you get to the funnel. So don't try to refine the funnel, create a new funnel. A lot of people talk about split testing or A/B testing, which is definitely something that every marketer should be doing. If I know that I am, let's say I'm sending out an email, I have a list of 10,000 addresses. I can see when that email goes out. I can see that 30% of those emails have been opened. Okay. Then I know action is taking place. So let's say I have 2 of those subject lines or headlines that I'm testing against one another. And what if neither one of them does a great job? Okay, well, switch out one of them and try your 3rd headline. Well, what if none of those 3 headlines work, or when none of those 3 subject lines work? All right, now go back and do another 100 headlines, come up with another 100 headlines, and try that again. As long as you can see that those subject lines, those whatever it is that you're testing, whether it's a headline, an offer, a discount, the color of the page background, whatever it is that you're testing, that you can see is being seen by people. That is, that you can measure the fact that it has views, okay? Then you can go ahead and worry about the testing of this versus that.
Okay, so this is like tied to the nothing in marketing is new. You've been marketing for 40 years. Well, tactics are new, but even though it's still the same, there's still a process to go through when you're picking out your marketing campaigns. So marketing is not I'm gonna put it out there and okay, yeah, I think, yeah, nothing has changed. Things are still the same, but still the fact of putting out a marketing campaign out there and guaranteeing it, oh yeah, on the first time, this is going to be I'm going to hit the bullseye on the first thing that I put out there. Um, how likely is that? Is it something that can happen? Is it?
Let's put it this way. I hope it never happens to anybody who's watching. Because, no, I'm serious. I am dead serious.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do something and it's a home run hit, you have no idea why. You don't know whether it was your headline, whether it was your offer, whether it was your audience. You have no clue.
Mm-hmm.
Can you replicate that again? No. Never. But the worst thing is whoever you did that for will expect you to replicate it the next time around. And when you don't, they'll drop you like a hot potato. Here's the deal. All right. Nothing. All right. Yes, I've been doing this for 40 years. Nothing has changed. Well, that's not entirely true. What has changed are the audiences and how we get to them. There used to be, when I first started out doing this stuff, there were newspapers on every street corner. There were 3 channels on your television. There were, radio stations that had the attention of, the kids in high school or the dads who were listening to the news on the way home, or they had their own audiences. The big thing is that we've moved from mass audience or mass media, really, to, honestly, they're fractured media. They're you can have a successful advertisement medium, whether it's a podcast, a print magazine, a blog, whatever, that is dedicated to a very specific niche. Mm-hmm. And you can make money selling to that niche. You can make money selling ads to people who want to reach that niche. That's what has changed in probably the last 30 years or so. But crafting an ad has not changed, at least in 120 years. That all these same elements need to be there. You need to capture people's attention. You need to make a reasonable offer in the language that they understand. So, for instance, an ad selling something to academics in the chemistry field is going to look different than selling the same sort of thing to stay-at-home moms.
Right, and I think
they're gonna need exactly the same components for each ad.
Mm-hmm. Even the messaging, I think that even the messaging can change due to external conditions. Okay. The same message in we'll just talk about a pandemic. Same message in a pandemic may, or the same message in a recession, or the same message during an election year, or the same message during some major, political events. Messaging may change, but you still need the same components.
Exactly.
Yeah, you still need the same components. Or you talk about the fracturing, and we talk about Las Vegas and the methods of reaching them. It seems like when you go to Vegas, you have so many people just walking down the strip. They're just in your face. And that could be as a result of the limited attention that the fight for the attention. Whereas when you talk about, there was one radio station, there was a newspaper, there was a time when families actually sat in front of the radio, and you didn't have to fight for attention. You didn't have to fight for attention. It's sort of like you're the youngest child in a family of 9 siblings, fighting for the attention from your family, but it's even a little more competitive than that. And then the advertisers are trying to adjust to and think of different ways, but it's still the same.
Sure.
But it's still the same. You still have to get attention. You may have to think of different, more creative ways, or doing something crazy in a video, which people do, and you take these strategies that people try to think of. Oh, okay, this is what you do. You turn your back to the camera when the picture comes on, and then you turn around and you put dramatic music. These tactics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still the same, that you still have to get attention. And it's not that it doesn't work. It's not that, I'm just saying out there for people that think their funnels don't work. It's not that it doesn't work. You just have to understand that it's not always a one-shot perfection, a one-shot homework of a home run. It's not always a one-shot home run. And you made the point perfectly. You don't want it to be a one-shot home run.
Because you'll never understand why. That's the thing. That if something, let's put it this way, if something fails completely, and I don't like the word fail, okay, but if something completely doesn't work, or something is a home run, I mean, it works better than your expectations. If you have either one of those, you have no idea why. But if you have just one little thing that you can look at and diagnose, then you can start figuring out. If you've got several little things on both sides, then it's even better.
What I like on the negative side is I love negative comments.
I love productive negative comments. Here's
productive, yeah.
Mark, you suck. That doesn't help.
That's just general.
It's a negative comment. But how's this? Mark, you suck because X, Y, and Z. Now, you could look into fixing X, Y, and Z, changing those things, or more importantly, you suck because you're bald, you wear glasses, and you have a beard. Okay, I'm not going to change any of those 3 things about myself. So what I need to do is I need to find somebody other than Scott to be my audience. Okay, anything with a because and an explanation is good. Mm-hmm. Negative comments, just, hey, this is bad, I don't like it. That's not helpful.
Not at all.
For me, I find it doesn't help. If I'm researching a product on like Amazon or something, I will look for the negative comments. I'll look for the 1-star reviews. Why? Because, why is this a 1-star review? If they tell me, then I can learn something about that product. If they just go, this thing sucks, I don't learn anything about the product.
Yeah.
This is a bad book. Okay, why is it a bad book? Is it printed on, the wrong kind of paper? What, is the ink not dark enough? Why? well, it's a bad book because he suggests this and it's really, he suggests X and it's really Y. He talks about this, but doesn't talk about that. All right. Now I can see what your complaints are, your dislikes are.
Your opinion.
Opinions are fine.
Yeah.
Opinions are fine.
Mm-hmm.
I've also read reviews that are like, I hate this object because, I wanted it in red. Well, they don't offer it in red. Why did you order it? It comes in either black or blue. Why did you order it?
Yeah.
Why do you hate it? Because it's not red.
I've heard people say that they hate this particular airlines because they charge them for luggage at the gate. And I think to myself, did you read it? That's what they said, that they will charge you at the gate for luggage if you don't pay for it ahead of time. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of it, all of that goes back to what you have mentioned several times, and that is communication. Here's the problem. Okay. Mark, I am 5'8", 235 pounds. If that has anything to do with what we're talking about, and you have listened to me when I tell you that, then we're communicating. If I say that to you and you go, hey, what time's the show on? Then we're not communicating. If I don't tell you that and it's important, we're not communicating. Communication, this is what a lot of people don't seem to understand. Communication is a two-way street. It requires someone to give out information.
A sender.
Yep. And it takes someone to receive that information. Okay.
And a receiver.
Exactly. And the best communication happens both directions. The sender sends to the receiver then becomes a sender and sends back to the original sender, who then becomes a receiver.
Let me ask you something.
No, I don't want to listen to you. Sorry. Just being a jerk. Go ahead.
When there's a failure in communication, I'm just going to ask you to answer it. When there's a failure in the communication, is it the sender or is it the receiver?
Yes. Again, we go back to it's not working. What do I do to fix it? Try something different.
That was a loaded question.
Of course it was. So I knocked it right back to you. The thing of it is, is it the sender or is it the receiver? It's both. Or it's neither. Or it's the method of communication. Look, if we're on a Zoom call, okay, we're talking back and forth to each other in American English, okay? But what if one of us were deaf? Now, to be totally honest, I'm partially deaf. That's one of the reasons why I'm wearing these. And that's one of the reasons why my eyesight goes from looking at my camera down to looking at your picture sometimes, so that I can get help by reading your lips a little bit. I am, for anybody out there who is, has trouble with hearing, I'm not nearly as bad as any of you. It's just a little something that I've been having problems with the last few years. But here's the thing. Om jag skulle prata svenska till kan du förstå vad jag säger?
Yeah.
If I were to speak Swedish to you, could you understand what I was saying? So all right, a lot of times we talk about language. Oh, you mean like French versus English versus Swedish? No. What about, again, I was talking about ads to written for organic chemists, who teach university level, versus an ad to stay-at-home moms. If I'm going to advertise toilet paper to moms, I'm going to say, hey, look, it's soft. It feels, doesn't hurt your butt when you wipe. Your kids won't complain about it when you buy it. Okay. To an organic chemist, I'm going to talk about I'm going to give like organic chemical formula for how the paper breaks down in the septic system, or that it doesn't use certain bleaches to turn the papers white and everything else. Okay, I'm talking about the same subject, toilet paper, but my language is different for each audience. Now, here's the thing. If you are trying to send a message between two people who want to communicate, they're going to find a way to communicate, even if it breaks down to, silly gestures with your hands, hungry, Mark, is it time to eat? You may not understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, but if I've got a watch on and I'm pointing at the watch and I'm doing this and putting my stuff in my mouth, you're probably going to figure it out, even if you speak a totally different language or if you've never heard human speech before.
They say that there is one universal language.
Yeah.
That's the language of love.
This is true. Well, I mean, they do say that. I can't, because I haven't spoken or tried to speak with all sorts of organisms. I can't say whether that's true or not. But
you can't confirm or deny.
I can neither confirm nor deny. See, now that's a political message. I can neither confirm nor deny. But what, where is the breakdown? Here's the thing. This is why I don't like the word fail. If you try to communicate, if you try a funnel, if you try hitting a softball and it doesn't work, okay, you have not failed. You fail when you quit trying.
Yep.
When you quit attempting. And I said this last time we spoke, but it was what the heck is his name? Gone out of my head. The inventor of the light bulb, Edison, who said, I haven't failed. I've discovered 10,000 ways that a light bulb doesn't work. So if I'm trying to communicate with you and it's not working, I haven't failed until I quit trying to communicate with you.
All right. That's it. That's just, a funnel does not fail. A funnel does not fail. I don't think it fails. I think that you may stop trying or you may give up, but if you continue, even someone that has decades of experience with either sales and marketing, it's not always a flip of a switch that will hit a home run every time. So that's yeah.
I like to think of it. I like to think of it like this. Let's say you want to water a field. Okay, so you build this metal trough that runs into your field, but that's a problem because it's just a metal trough. It's not. There's no water in it. So you've got to get that water from somewhere. So let's say you find a little stream and you point that stream into that metal trough. So now there's a trickle of water going through and it's getting to some of the plants. Well, if you want to feed all of the plants, if you want to water all the plants in your field, you have to have more water. So you have to divert more small streams into your trough, or you have to find a larger stream, like a river or a lake, that you can divert some of that water from to send through the trough to send to the plants that you're watering. This is exactly what marketing is. You want to grow your profits, your sales, but you can't do that without the water of the right traffic. Now, let me step back for a second. You want to grow plants. Let's say you're growing corn. You've got this trough. Running that trough into the sea and getting salt water is going to kill your plants, not help them grow. So getting the attention of the wrong audience is not going to help you grow your business, your farm. Okay? Even though you've built a trough, a funnel to bring this attention to them. If you pull in no water, no attention, or the wrong attention, seawater, it's not going to work. So you have to find the right water. You have to have. Now, here's the thing. If you have a lot of water, you can have a leaky trough. You can have a not so good funnel. But as long as you've got traffic flowing through that tunnel and getting some water to some of your plants, you have the opportunity to repair that trough, that funnel, fix the funnel. But you have to have somewhere you're sending it, and you have to have traffic coming in so that you can diagnose that funnel, that trough, that irrigation system for your farm, your business.
Awesome. That is very well said. And we'll end it on that note. And I'm going to just stop this recording right here. And we will catch you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. If you're just starting out online, you're probably studying a lot. That's great. You're probably geeking out on all the strategies also, right? Well, that's also great. But the hardest part is figuring out how to communicate in a way that makes someone want to buy from you and how you should sell to them, right? Well, that's also what I struggled with for a while until I found the formula. So I created this free 5-day challenge called the Make More Money Marketing Challenge to get you on track with your marketing and, more importantly, the right sales scripts and processes to get it off the ground and getting people to take you up on your products, services, and your opportunities. You want to come? Well, there's small groups on purpose so I can answer your direct questions for 5 straight days. You can hold your spot by going to www.thementalmarketer.com/4M challenge sign up. Again, that's thementalmarketer.com/4M challenge sign up. Check the site for dates and times. I'll see you on the inside.